Hey, Wixman Ray here, also known as Weatherman Ray, if you want to know what the Wix means. So, welcome to our Friday the 13th edition of Ray's Weather Updates. So, I think we had a Friday the 13th last month. I know we did. Uh, I don't know what the odds are of having two Friday the 13ths in a row each month, but I don't recall that happening any time in the recent past. Maybe one of you can look that up. Hey, looking at our satellite picture from way above the Earth, which this is what we call the GOES satellite images, and that the GOES satellite sits up over the equator. So, so here we go. This is our RGB enhancement. We got this big storm with the low pressure spinning over parts of Michigan there, and we still got some snow on the northern end and some rain on the southern sections down in this general area. We'll look at the observations to confirm that. You can see there's some green that's indicating there's some snow on the ground back up here in North Dakota and Minnesota where they had those recent snows. Um, and then down across the south, this is that old cold front here that we had a couple days ago come across the continental United States. There's some clouds and showers and thunderstorms, especially across South Florida. So you got that going on there. And then our last system is up here in the Pacific Northwest, bringing moisture across Washington, northern Idaho into Montana, and even streaming over into parts of the Dakotas. There's some light snow bands underneath all this cloud cover, and yeah, down in this direction, that looks like probably some middle level type clouds. Not a lot of precip, I think, this much farther south, but we'll take a look. And then back in Oregon too, they had some snow up in that, not Oregon, Washington. They had some snow up there. I heard Seattle area had some snow. We were talking about that last night, how close to freezing they were at around midnight last night. So here's our surface observation. So yeah, it's 33 degrees and some light snow in Seattle. So, and it looks like closer to the coast, it's warm enough for rain. So, you kind of got a mixture of rain and snow out here. It looks like a lot of the, what is this? Wenatchee? I don't know how to say that. Spokane and so basically a lot of places up here are seeing some light snow. Um, Probably heavier bands up in the mountains. I believe this is called the Olympia Range. Um, and then it looks like we got some snow. It looks like some light to moderate snows over northern Idaho, and that extends out into Montana. Most of them are warm enough or cold enough for snow. It looks like Helena is got some unknown precip, so they might have a mixed wintry mix there since their temperature is above freezing. Same thing over here at Missoula. And then down here at Bozeman, it's not snowing, but it's quite a bit warmer too down here in the 40s and 50s in that southwest little area of Montana. And then we got this band, we saw that on the models yesterday, kind of extending into South Dakota, a little bit into North Dakota. Just some light snow for the most part. May get a few inches accumulation out of that. The winds have calmed down out here. We still got some, gusting up to 30, almost 40 at Denver. So there's a little bit of wind still going on the front range and then back into Wyoming. Looks like gusting to 50 at around 50 at Rock Springs. That's Fort Bridger, gusting about 40, and then up at Casper. So we still got some windy conditions across Wyoming. Nothing like they had yesterday. I was reading on the news they closed parts of I-80 and I-25 was at least closed to all commercial vehicles. So when I went out there, what was it, about a week ago after that storm, the trucks were just lined up, and I'm sure that with the 80 being shut down, I don't know if they've reopened it, but that was as of yesterday because of them 70, 80 mile an hour winds they had going on out there. I heard they had a lot of accidents and trucks blown over on their sides because of the extreme wind conditions. Um, so it's probably a mess at the truck stops and rest areas and wherever the truckers can park their vehicles. You don't really think about that, but this is one of the worst stretches probably along I-80, at least in the wintertime, especially for winds and blowing snow and ice getting on the road because of that blowing snow. So, yeah, I've been across that so many times. I'm pretty well versed on the weather down through there. I've gone through there so many times in the winter over the years. So, okay, so yeah, so down south here, very warm in California. We got 70s approaching 80 in SoCal and parts of SoCal, up into the 60s as we go up into the valley here, the Tule Valley, where they get fog, especially in the wintertime, but none of that going on today. 77 in Phoenix, 60s in New Mexico, 66 in El Paso, Texas. And we won't go through all this because that'll take us all day, but come on, update. So yeah, pretty warm across Texas, approaching 70s back here, and some are already into the 70s, up to 80 there in parts of West Texas. So. And across the south and southeast, they're still in the 60s, and it's getting to be about noon out there, noon, 1 o'clock. And then you got some 70s across Florida, and looks like if you zoom in down here, we got some showers and thunderstorms down here across South Florida, kind of scattered about. So if you live in that neck of the woods or out there in that neck of the woods visiting or traveling, you'll probably see some of that activity. So back up here is our main weather maker. Well, besides the one out west, this is the big one, the big boy. So we're still getting some very strong gusts. Looks like gusting up to 60, almost 70 miles an hour in Indiana. Farther back here, they're still in the 40s. Back in Illinois into Minnesota and Wisconsin. So looks like the strongest winds are right through this general area, and gusting up near 50 at Cleveland, Ohio. So yeah, 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts. Pretty windy if you're traveling across these parts on, I believe I-80 runs along here, and I-70 maybe. I'm not sure where I-70 goes through this general area. So a couple interstates through here though, but I'd have to bring up my road map, which I don't have available right now. Looks like a little bit of light rain out here, some spotty showers, not picked up. I kind of don't believe these because they're not showing any clouds. And it's showing this light rain dots. Sometimes that could be something in the sensor. Sometimes we would get spider webs that would cause it to report rain, and it was under mostly clear conditions. So I don't think those two reports are valid. But where there is the radar returns, it looks like we've got some rain back up into parts of Pennsylvania. Actually, to be honest with you, none of these stations are reporting, and looking at their dew points, they're in the 20s and even the teens here. So it's very dry. So some of this is, most of this is probably virga. It's not hitting the ground. They might get a few sprinkles as it moistens up. And it's cold enough up into, far northern Pennsylvania for snow if it does reach the ground. Because what will happen is it will wet bulb, as we call it. And what happens is as the atmosphere, gosh, I can't get my words out. As the atmosphere moistens up, the temperature drops down closer to the dew point. Since there's a temperature dew point spread of 10 degrees here, you can see at 31 and 21. So, yeah, this is a good example down here, 35 and 18. So if it was to moisten up enough over this, what is this, Du Bois, Pennsylvania, it would dry. It would be snow. So yeah, so you can see that especially if you have really dry air and it moistens up, it'll drop the temperatures through that wet bulbing or that evaporational cooling too, is what they call. So yeah. And looks like up in New York, we got some couple areas of moderate to heavy snow up here, Buffalo, Rochester, some light snow in areas. So you guys are going to get us a few inches of snow up there probably today. Still pretty windy up in southern Michigan, man. Gust to 62, so that's almost 70-mile-an-hour winds. These are knots, so when you convert them over to mile per hour, it's stronger than the knots by a little bit anyway. So 5 to 10. So yeah, so some winds up in parts of um, Minnesota there, but it's warm enough for rain, so it's in the mid to upper 30s and 40s. So it looks like all our snow is way back up here into the UP of Michigan, and a little bit back here into northern Wisconsin, and then over into New York, and maybe southern Pennsylvania might get it if they start moistening up enough. They might get a little bit of light snow, and then the rest of the Northeast, the same thing's going to happen there. They're going to have to moisten up because they have really dry air. I mean, their dew points are in the teens out here, so very dry air that this moisture has to overcome. But you will see some snow eventually as we go through today and tonight into tomorrow morning. So, all right, I think that's all I've got for the surface. I wanted to show you this. That's not the right one. This is it. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the temperatures. We haven't, I've mentioned them in passing as we're going through these systems, but we're seeing a lot of ups and downs here, especially across the eastern part of the country as we go into the next several days. So this is today. You can see, pretty warm across the west. Look at this. This is the high. This is the max temperature. So, most of the west is in the 60s and then the 80s down south here. 88 in Phoenix today. Very warm across the south and southeast for the most part. Um, you know, it's warm-ish. It might be a little bit below normal for what you're used to, but not too bad of weather. All the cold air is still up across the north here, but as we go through, so this is Saturday, not a lot of big changes. It does start to warm up out here in the high plains and parts of Texas up into the 80s, and looks like maybe even some 90s out there in parts of Texas. Approaching 90 out here in the deserts of Arizona and Southern California, and still chilly up north, 20s and 30s for the most part. Um, so then let's look at Sunday. So this is when we'll start seeing some changes coming. Yeah, so this is that one system that gets that powerful low pressure that starts developing out over the plains on Sunday. And that's going to draw in all this cold air behind it. So you got not teens, but yeah, teens up here in the North Dakota, Minnesota, northern Minnesota, anyways, and then 20s and 30s all the way down, to Nebraska and even back into here. So this area, this is where all that cold air is coming from. And yeah, even in Omaha, it's going to drop down to 44. And let's look at what they were today. So yeah, they were 50s, 58 in Kansas City. So yeah, so this is Saturday. So 65 in Omaha, 72 in Kansas City, and then see what happens here. They drop 20 degrees, 44 on Sunday, and they're dropping down to 60. But then wait until Monday here. So let's just go forward. So Monday, look at that. So they were 65, 2 days ago? Now they're 30 for the high. And the winds are going to be blowing too, really strong, come Sunday and Monday. So the wind chills are going to be really low too, especially, during the morning hours when the temperature is even colder. So this is just your maximum. Kansas City 29. What were they, 72 2 days ago? Something like that, or 2 or 3 days ago. So yeah, I think it was Saturday. Yeah, they were 72, and they're down to 29, and they got winds blowing. So all this cold air, it's coming down even into parts of the South, into Arkansas, parts of Tennessee, even northern Mississippi. Look at this. They're getting down in the 50s down here, and that's for highs. So the cold air is dropping south there. Still relatively warm, and this is what we talked about on Monday across the East Coast, but that's going to change. So, and there you go, Tuesday. So look, you got all the 20s, 30s, and this is for highs all across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, upper Midwest, into the Northeast. So, the day before it was what, approaching 70, and now this is our highs, 30s and 40s. And it's still going to be a little bit windy and chilly. So, kind of a nasty raw beginning to the week. So, your Monday as you go to work out here, especially, if you live in this part of the country, it's going to be nasty in the morning. Tuesday is going to be, cold. It starts to recover a little bit out here in Kansas City and Omaha in the mid 40s by Tuesday, but still cold, chilly for, that's for your max temperature. And then even look in the southeast here. I mean, we got 40s and 50s down here, even into the panhandle of Florida and down to New Orleans. So definitely colder than normal, quite a bit colder. Good, what, 20 degrees colder than what they've been experiencing lately. Yeah, so that's Tuesday, and then we'll go forward another day. So it starts to moderate then by middle of the week. Look at this, man. We're back up to 70s there in Omaha and Kansas City, and this whole area really, look at that. We're getting upper 80s already. Yeah, look at this. By Wednesday, the desert Southwest, 98, approaching 100. They'll have triple digits out in some of these areas like Death Valley and these parts of Arizona down here, Yuma. So yeah, look at that, a lot of 90s. Look at that, 80s up into Idaho, southern Idaho, and northern Nevada, 77 in Salt Lake. Let's look at the day before. Let's talk about the West. Yeah, see, it's heating up out there, 80s and 90s, all the way into California, 70s. So yeah, so next week, yeah, it's still pretty warm out here. I mean, look at that, 79 in Reno on Monday. So a lot of warm air out here, and that expands eastward as we go through Wednesday, and then we'll go to the last day of this loop. Yeah, look at that. So a few days ago they're struggling to get above freezing for the highs, beginning of the week, and by Thursday they're going to be approaching 80. Look at that, 77, 78 up here in Kansas City and Omaha, the high plains. Look at that, 90s. Very warm air mass. That's because there's a real strong ridge developing out through this part of the country as we go through next week. Look at that, 102 in Phoenix. It's going to be probably 110 down here near Yuma and Death Valley areas, getting at least approaching that range. Look at that, 80s all up through here, 79 in Salt Lake. Beautiful. If you like warm weather, that's the place to go. It looks like the snows are all going to start melting in the mountains up there, and in pretty quickly as we get this warm up for the middle part of March here. And then it moderates back here too across the south. It's back into the 70s. Still chilly up here. Sorry, you guys up here. You're not going to quite get taste of the 70s. You had that, what, a few days ago. So but it'll come eventually. Maybe in April. So you can keep Pucks 20, Phil, is that how you say it? The groundhog, you can keep them locked up for a little bit longer, and then you can let them out once it warms up. I like to follow that. I'm just funny. So yeah, we'll just go into our weather charts, man. We were rambling on about that, but it really hasn't changed from what I said last night. Got these two main weather makers through early next week, at least through Monday and Tuesday morning. And then we got another one that's trying to affect up here, but we'll look at that. So, yeah, so here's the wound up low. This is for this evening up over, it's starting to move out of Michigan and into Canada. There'll still be some snow, but mainly it'll affect the UP of Michigan, maybe parts of northern Wisconsin and parts of Michigan. Will still see some snows behind this. Still some rain on the warmer side down here in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and then some light snow up here into parts of the Northeast. Some areas it'll be kind of, as we saw in the temperatures, it'll be close to freezing, so it could be rain or snow or a mix. So what that indicates is you won't get a lot of accumulation where the temperatures are very far below freezing, or they might be just above freezing and it does snow. You probably won't get a lot of accumulating snow. And then you got this system out here. So same general area that we saw this morning. Some Looks like maybe some snow maybe go through the day for Seattle, so we'll see how much accumulation they get. Looks like on the southern end it's more rain, so yeah. So we'll just truck along. So we'll go right through midday Saturday. So this low pressure is weakening and filling, as we call in meteorological terms, with some wraparound snow on the backside across New York and then parts of the Northeast on Saturday. Um, and then we've got this snow still going on back here, so this place is just gonna get inundated with snowfall. Just kind of continuous light to moderate snows here and there um, through Saturday. So, and then here we go. Here's this next low pressure developing, and this thing really gets going on Saturday night. Start picking up some good bands of snow from the northern Rockies up here, even down into Wyoming. Very strong winds, so there'll probably be blizzard warnings out in parts of these areas, high wind warnings, and winter storm warnings. All the whole gamut will be going on up here as you get very strong winds, cold air, and the snow going on up through here. And then as we go through the day on Sunday, the Gulf moisture will get tapped into, so we'll kind of watch that develop. And this we talked about the heavy snow bands will develop across the north, so they're going to get a lot of snow up here from, I would say, the eastern South Dakota, maybe northern Iowa, maybe a little bit, or definitely Minnesota and Wisconsin, UP and Michigan. We're looking at upwards of a foot, maybe 2 feet of snow up here in blizzard type conditions. I mean, look at that. Look at how tightly packed these lines are. These are isobars. These are your lines of equal pressure. So when you see them all wrapped like that, you're going to see, so we're probably talking, 50, 60, maybe even higher, 70-mile-an-hour winds behind this, at least for the wind gusts, the highest wind gusts. So very strong winds. And that even goes down clear into Oklahoma and Texas. So you're going to probably be picking up blowing dust out here. And yeah, hopefully there's going to be no fires started. I know they had some fires out in parts of Oklahoma and Kansas a few weeks ago. So yeah, as I mentioned, as we go through the day, look, we get this cold front developing, so we'll see some showers and thunderstorms developing from Missouri down through Arkansas and parts of Oklahoma and maybe even the northeast Texas. Yeah, it looks like East Texas. So and definitely probably like the SPC Storm Prediction Center has for the Weather Service has this area and a risk of severe thunderstorms as we go into Sunday. Um, so and then look at this. I mean, just wrapped up, powerful winds, blizzard conditions back here, heavy snow. There might even be some sleet and ice on the transition zone here in this narrow band up here. So winter's not over. Sorry, people. If you live out in the eastern part of the U.S. If you're out west, hey, it's going to be good, unless you live up, in the northern Rockies and Pacific Northwest, and not so good. But yeah. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, I was going to tell you about Storm Prediction Center. So yeah, so this is the outlook for day 3, which is on Sunday. So they have an enhanced risk from parts of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, down into the Boot Hill of Missouri. So this general area of the United States, and then outlined, from southern third of Missouri down through East Texas, Louisiana, parts of the South, even up into southern Michigan. So yeah, this whole area will be under the gun starting Sunday, probably starting midday to afternoon. They'll fire up and then go through the overnight, and then they'll be ongoing. It'll probably turn into like what they call a squall line or a quasi-linear convective system in the overnight hours, which happens quite often, especially with these strong systems. So there's going to be a threat of spin up tornadoes, hail, high winds, you name it. So kind of similar to what we saw a few days ago with those last couple systems. So we're getting a little long here, so I'll try to wrap this up real quick. So this system, like we've talked about, ongoing thunderstorms racing across the south and even up into the Ohio Valley and to probably all the way up into southern Michigan possibly. And then going through the day on Monday, they're going to hit, probably parts of Pennsylvania, maybe touch New Jersey a little bit, the severe thunderstorms, and then all the way down here to the south, at least to South Carolina, they've got a chance of severe thunderstorms. Although it could go farther south because you're going to have thunderstorms all the way down to Florida with this system, Georgia and Florida. So we'll kind of see how that turns out. You'll have snow on the backside of this thing with very strong winds, so it's going to be nasty, blustery across, Ohio. Rain changing over to snow. Probably it'll be brief. I mean, it may last a few hours, maybe up to 5 or 6 hours at the most, but it's trucking along. So, but you'll get some snow on the backside there, and that'll truck into the northeast. And be pretty much gone by Tuesday afternoon. Then you got some lake effect snow to deal with. So lake effect snow's not done yet. So yeah, you'll see some of that by Tuesday morning, it looks like, and through the day on Tuesday. And then we got this next system, next little clipper, bringing some snow up here to the upper plains and upper Midwest. That looks like it'll start on Tuesday and go overnight Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then it kind of weakens. But another shot of light snow. But this one's not near as strong as these last couple storms at all, really. Not much wind to speak of with this event. So, and then it looks like it just keeps raining out in the Pacific Northwest. So, they're in that pattern right now. So that's all I've got. This has got a little long-winded. Hope you have a good Friday the 13th. Hopefully it's good luck and not any bad luck. um, yeah. So appreciate you watching, and um, uh, and things will be hit and miss for the next couple of weeks. Like I mentioned a while back, there's just a lot going on right now. So, hey, I appreciate you being here. Wixman Ray out.